Yo, 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 what's good? What's good? Stormybman, and I am back, welcoming you to the Friday Night Chop Session with Stormybman for this Friday, February 11th, 2023. This is number 188 in the series of Friday Night Chop Sessions. And we're calling this one, Men, Step to the Challenge. I'll give you a moment to try to process what's the meaning behind that title for tonight's show. If you've been around, shouldn't be too hard to figure that out. But it's definitely something to take into consideration, given the climate of men's professional boxing presently. I had an opportunity to speak to my mentor, Eddie Davis, a little earlier today and a couple times this week. And he shared something with me that made me feel a little bit better about what I'm doing out here. See, reassurance comes from a lot of places. And sometimes you just never know where it'll come from. And I hadn't talked to him in a while, so he told me he really appreciated how I addressed something on the air regarding fighters and their temperaments, their hearts, and things of that nature. Apparently he caught either the call-in show or one of the shows where I was addressing a remark in the chat. He couldn't remember at the very moment we spoke which point it was or which show, but the whole point was he made a point to tell me, to point it out, that he had an appreciation for how I handled the situation, and that's coming from my mentor. So you see, sometimes it pays to pay attention and even give acknowledgement, which is what I'm doing right now. So Eddie, I appreciate you and thank you for that. Men, step to the challenge. We have a lot of present day fighters in the top 20, top 10, who are avoiding the opportunities to progress beyond their current position for lack of confidence, for lack of initiative, for lack of aspiration to get better, to do better, to perform better. And we're seeing a lot of it, which is why the sport is at a stalemate presently in men's boxing. There's no shortage of it amongst the women currently. No shortage. One need to look no further than currently this situation that is unresolved between Gervonta Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia. What's so hard about making a fight? They act as if this is like world leaders trying to come together for a peace treaty. You either want to progress or you don't. It's that simple. And for those that want to say, well, you know, it's about the money. Over 90% of these guys are overpaid anyway. And I'm not trying to say that they're not deserving of financial benefit. But when you look at some of these promotional groups, management companies, after overpaying so many fighters, a lot of them are tanking out. No pun intended. But sometimes when you want to be the best, you just need to buckle down, crack down, and say, hey, give me this fight. This fight can make me. I listened to an interview earlier today where I heard these men discussing Joe Joyce and the fight he has coming up against Zhilei Zhang, or Zhang Zhilei. And they were talking about the risk. Oh, it's a big risk for Joe. It's a big risk for Joe. And you know something? These were media personalities speaking this, right? This was, what was his name? Because I'm going to play something by these same guys a little later in the show. But Simon Jordan and Spencer Oliver, they were talking about the risk for Joyce. It's such a risk. It's a risk. Media personalities didn't used to speak about the risk. It's a risk every time the fighter enters the ring. Every time. I don't care if he's going in there against a fighter who doesn't have a tenth of a chance to defeat him. The risk is when both men enter the ring and someone takes one upside the head, they may not return from the ring the way that they went in, whether it's the favorite guy or not. And you should be especially concerned about the guy who isn't favored, because he's the one that's going in against all odds. And your favorite guy, where the odds said it was 101 to beat him, could hurt that guy, and that guy may not ever return to his family the same, and you don't care. Only that your guy got that scintillating first round knockout, and he's got 8 in a row now against has-beens, never-weres, and who are these? But the old media personalities didn't speak about the risk. They spoke about the challenges. They spoke about, whoa, this is a great fight. We don't know who's going to win. We should tune in because we can expect fireworks. They spoke about the skills that one may have over another, the advantages that one may have over another, the fact that one guy can adjust, the fact the other guy has a problem with this, real breakdowns. But never spoke disparaging toward risk, because when you speak like that, it's almost as if you don't really want something to happen. You don't really want it to take place because someone whom you might like or support could be at a disadvantage, could lose on the night, could maybe have their title taken away. Now you see how that trickles into the minds of people who tune in to watch their BS? That's exactly what that is, people. And then when they start to talk about who's getting paid what. In the past, they didn't talk about the purses of the fighters. That was like way down on the totem pole as far as the discussion of fights. So also when you factor that in, it creates some sort of a wall of, well, so-and-so is not deserving. Well, so-and-so is getting paid XYZ. Well, so-and-so has earned this. So if this person doesn't bring that, then the fight shouldn't happen. Or this is the person that puts the butts in the seats and that guy can't draw flies. All of that foolishness. Go back and watch the history of the sport and you will find that those subjects are not a part of the discussion when building fights. To the degree that almost 90% of the content creators out here find themselves talking purses as well. Who in the world talks about their salary in everyday conversation? You, your neighbor, your colleague at work, your best friend. You don't talk your money. What's known is you're employed. What's known is you're self-sufficient. Even if you're going through hard times, you don't talk about that. People who talk the money chase what they could never achieve. And that is contentment and happiness, because the illusion is more of it will make you happy. But wasn't it Notorious Big who rapped about more problems, more money, more problems? When you think about it, that's the problem right there. Being distracted by that which isn't most important. So these become the talking points. And because there's no shame in our society no more, people don't want to be embarrassed. So they save face by not facing what they should, what they're supposed to. Trial, tribulation, error, success. It's all a part of the process in life. You can't run from it. So what? You have 1 million people on Instagram patting you on your behind. They could be here today and gone tomorrow. Don't they cancel stuff all the time? Cancel people, cancel shows, cancel movies, cancel celebrities, all it cancel. Because we're in a society now that's what have you done for me lately? Uber selfish. And no one wants to step out on faith and give it the old college try and shoot for something meaningful to them and beyond where they can perceive. Dream. So if nobody wants the fights, it's like you dare not to dream. You dare not to be entertained by that which is the unknown. You know what kills me? It's like this. The same situation follows like movies now. Check this out. Everyone knows that Stormy loves his movies. Kung Fu, the Marvel films and DC films and stuff like that. So when a movie goes into production now, do you know that there are content creators out here? If you follow that kind of thing, if you don't, then just think about boxing or whatever your manosphere subjects, your women strong feminist movement, all of that stuff. The content creator uploads updates on the movies or whatever, and it's like leaked the ending of the movie, leaked the true plot of the story, leaked the villain who's in the film, leaked who's guest starring, leaked the end credit scene, leaked the opening of the film. It's like, okay, if you're updating all of that, what the hell do I need to go see it for? So, to pair that with boxing, if my favorite fighter, which I don't have one, but I'm making it a point here. If my favorite fighter is signing to fight a guy that's ranked number 18 in the ratings, but he's been moved to number 5 over the past 6 months. And on paper, my favorite fighter is favored to beat the guy. Oh, it's a 6-round fight. It's a 5-round fight. If the other guy don't stand that much of a chance, what is the use of me tuning in? Seriously. What is the use of me buying a ticket and flying out to Vegas? Or to go to Brooklyn where the Barcade Center or whatever. What is the use? See? These are the things we're talking about. I don't need that type of update. So when we're talking about the movies, there's a new movie. Vin Diesel is coming out. He's going to be starring with what? Robert Downey Jr. Whatever. It's like, okay, that's interesting, whatever. You know, but I don't need to know the plot of the film. I don't need to know who was guest starring, who dies, and all of those other details that these idiots put out there. And then when the films tank at the box office, here they go with that. Oh, it bombed. Well, because you told everybody what was happening, and nobody decided to go see it because they watched all of your videos where you gave an update every day or every other day, every couple of days, and they say, "Oh, I don't think I want to see that." Is that what's gonna happen? Oh, I don't want to see that. But people don't take accountability for these things. And I talk about it all the time. Do I not? I said one of the things you never hear them say is, I messed up. My fault. My bad. I need to make some corrections. They don't say that. They cancel you. Or they'll tell you, I never asked for your support. Sound familiar? Yeah. These are the kind of things that prevent the sport from excelling, going full steam ahead. To the degree that you'll be warring with one another out there. Your boy is ducking. Your guy doesn't want to do this. Your dude is scared. This, that, though, that, blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, you pull up. Yeah, well, I'm at where you gonna be at. I'm here. I'm there. I'm coming for you. You coming for me. What? Foolishness. And in the meantime, the promoters make this money off of your guys. They'll shut down one company because it went bankrupt, because they overpaid for stuff that shouldn't have even been overpaid for. But you were never delivered the goods. Yeah. That stuff that came through, it got cut so much by the time it made it to you, it was baby powder. The cheap baby powder from the dollar store, huh? I'm telling you, back off. Start using that brain that you were fortunate to have. You can do better. These fighters that you profess to love and support and everything can do better. There is nothing wrong with demanding excellence when you are shelling out your money. Nothing wrong at all. Half the time, when people are throwing loyalties behind a fighter in today's modern following of the sport, they're not even supporting the fighter for the right reasons. They're supporting based on influences. You've been influenced to have a favorite. You've been influenced to support one over the other, which is why some of you can't even foresee victory in the eyes of defeat, or vice versa, because you blindly go in because of influences. It's ridiculous, but it's every day. Every day. I did a show last week where I had one round with George Yakovic, and the Iceman, John Scully, who trains Arthur Bitterbeef. We barely had like 140 people watching this show. But I look out here in these streams where you guys talk about Spence and Crawford all the time, Tank and Ryan all the time. Going back and forth with other channels. Somebody don't like you, you don't like them. Hundreds and hundreds of views. And these people, after this fight that Bitterbeef had against Anthony Yard, are in a rush to throw their money down on Dmitry Bivol if they ever fight. But Dmitry Bivol made a fight with Canelo Alvarez, who was the A-side. Who has no loyalty to any network or anything. He has his own independence, Canelo Alvarez. And he's not even that great on the box office, but it would be a great opportunity for Dmitry. And he went in and he fought Canelo, and he got a decision over him. But Arthur Bitterbeef is a rival at the weight class and a champion, a unified champion. But somehow the Bivol fight can't be made. And I'm going to tell you something. The Iceman, John Scully, revealed that when Canelo was seeking to go up to 175, Arthur Bitterbeef was never even considered. Never considered. But he thought it would be sweet with Bivol. And Bivol kicked his butt. Now he's talking about he'll fight him in a rematch, but he's going to have to come down to 168. He's looking for more advantages. But you went up there and challenged him and couldn't beat him where he was. And I'm mentioning all that because Scully says that these guys hope that Arthur would get hit by a car or something before thinking about signing a contract to get in the ring with him. And he also let it be known that Arthur and Bivol are familiar with each other and they work with one another in the gym. And that Bivol isn't that anxious to really get in the ring with him when it's for real. He spoke respectfully about Arthur and nothing along the lines of bravado or anything like that, because he knows what happened in the gym. And that's with larger gloves and headgear, and people can stop it and all of that. Arthur Bitterbeef keeps a regular rotation for sparring of at least 4 individuals. And they come out round after round in rotation, because guys get punished staying in there for multiple rounds, one after the other. So they fresh guy every round. This is one champion doing these things. One. There are others out there, I'm sure. But this is one that I have close access to. So I'm making this statement because of these people who want to throw their allegiance behind someone due to influences, not even thinking with their right mind. Just, yeah, this guy, he'll kill him. Whatever. This happens because most people want to be told what to do, what to think. Critical thinkers aren't appreciated anymore. It's easier to go along to get along. But what you give up when you do that, you can never get back. Integrity is something that's important. So when your favorite guy is out there and you're finding it hard to see him in the ring against someone because they just can't get it together, the risk is too high. Never mind, like I said, no matter who you get in the ring with, it's a risk. But they have to say it, don't they? And then that little quote that goes with it. High risk, low reward. What the hell is even that? This ain't 3-card Molly, huh? Played in an alley or on a subway or something. Don't you just get tired of that foolishness? Do you ever want to just free yourself? Crazy. But tonight, beyond what I've just spoken on, we have a few topics to talk about outside of that. That was sort of like my warm up for the show. But we got boxing news we're going to discuss a little bit. Then, of course, tomorrow night, we got the Vargas versus Foster fight on Showtime. Talk about that a little bit. By the way, after the Friday night chop session, I have a video premiering where it's my little bit of a breakdown on this fight about 10:15 p.m. Central Time. Please check out the video. Like to talk a little bit tonight also about AJ versus Franklin. We'll talk about that a little bit. And next week, if you guys ain't up on this, be aware. Next Saturday, the 18th, Lee Wood is taking on Mauricio Lara. Listen, people. Lara is the one that knocked out Josh Warrington. And Lee Wood very well may be next. Be on the lookout for this fight, I'm telling you. It's a good fight. It's a good fight. Don't be sleep on that one. So just bear that in mind. But hey, man, I want to start off moving forward into the next segment of the show. We're going to talk about, last week's fight card with Amanda Serrano and Erica Cruz, and the event that was, and the fact that the ladies on the card, Alicia Baumgardner and Ellen Michaelit, all of them performed so well. And they gave me a reason to look ahead and make some updates to my Thunderous Top 10 for the women of boxing. And it's so interesting because they, meaning the women, are really embarrassing the men right about now. They really are. They are embarrassing the men. So my women's Thunderous Top 10 has been updated after this card took place. So I will proudly share with you what my findings are as I speak on the Thunderous Top 10 for the women. And we can have a small discussion on that. I don't mind. But Stormy is like, very impressed with what's happening with the ladies right now. Very impressed. And if you guys don't feel the same, that's okay. But eventually, you'll catch up. But we'll be far ahead, those of us who are already on the train, because the train has left the station with women's boxing. I'm even looking at the young ones that's coming up, more so than the young men that's coming up, because the young men that's coming up are following these foolish guys that are already on the scene, and they're bringing more of the same BS. Like I said, it'll probably be a generational thing where that'll have to pass away before the freshness comes in, huh? So let that be known. But just to kick this off, check this out. We got the women's thunderous top 10 here. And man, I'm just gonna say it like this, man. This is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I'm loving it. At number 10, we got Delphine Persoon, who gave Ellen McCaleb a hell of a fight. And she's still doing her thing. At number 9, Christina Hammer is still hanging tough. She's hanging by a thread in there. And that's okay. At number 8, Michaela Meyer, who, in a close decision loss to Alicia Baumgardner, is looking for another opportunity, a rematch. And it may take place. It's up to Alicia. But the two are rivals, and there's never a bad soundbite between them when they're speaking of the other. They're like Ali and Frazier. I say that with humor, but they don't like each other. Now, at number 7, due to her performance against Amanda Serrano, I put Erica Cruz Hernandez. That's a tough woman there. What a fighter she is. Credit to her for her performance. And if she were going in against someone else on that night, anyone outside of Amanda Serrano, she could have very well pulled that fight out. And I believe I am the only one that has spoken about the fact that she would deserve a rematch. If Amanda is successful against Katie Taylor in May of this year, why not? I know Amanda is talking about entering back into MMA, but you know what? There's some money on the table to be collected with a rematch with this woman. That's a darn good fight. So, I like that between the two ladies. I really do. At number 6, another Latina, we have Sinisa Estrada. She of minimum weight and heavy, fierce fighting ability. If you haven't had a chance to check out Sinisa Estrada, who just recently signed to Top Rank, so you should be seeing more of her very soon. You got to check her out. Grand Regent Thrag is asking, salute Stormy, are you doing your female pound for pound list? It's my female thunderous top 10, the women who have, just like my men's top 10, who have the most impact on the sport currently right now. You can call it a pound for pound, but I prefer to call it my thunderous top 10, because these people bring a striking presence to the sport, both in and out of the ring, and how they represent, how they perform. So yes, in short. Now, at number 5, But rising, because she was lower on the list the last time out, is Alicia the Baumgartner. Man, this woman, I'm giving her credit now because she moving on. But she got to face Mayer in a rematch. She got to get that lady a rematch. And I know what Williams said, but if she does what Williams suggests, just out of not liking the person, not to give her a rematch, then that's that Earl Spence thing about, Keith Thurman. Fight! That's what we want to see you do. I don't care that you don't like somebody or whatever. When the bell ring, you get a chance to go upside their head. Prove your wares. Huh? Do you know how many of the past greats didn't like each other? They still fought. And I'm going to tell you something. Boxing is the type of sport that when you do fight the person that you don't like, you have to keep your emotions in check. Otherwise, you can fall into a trap and be snared. Yeah. So, that's the best time. Because you don't fight on emotion, you fight on instinct and intelligence. But Alicia has moved from the lower portion of the Thunderous top 10 to right at number 5. And the only reason that she isn't higher is because of those who are above her, whose merits have been of greater accomplishments. And that is, at number 4, we got Franchon Cruz Discern. Yeah! Oh, Franchon, huh? Who's willing to do what's necessary to win a fight, including pull her wig off and get down to the nitty and the gritty, huh? Salute to Franchon. She's worked hard in this sport, and she is definitely a fighter to be respected, regardless of what Mauricio Sulaiman thinks, huh? Go sit down, foolish one. Franchon is an undisputed champion at super middleweight. Damn good. At number 3, we have Amanda Serrano. Amanda Serrano could be number 1 if the other 2 placeholders weren't above her. And they're bigger and they're more accomplished, both professionally and going back to their amateur careers. So at number 2, who could easily very well be tied with number 1, but she's a smaller person. Number 2, we got Katie Taylor, who's undisputed. Huh? Katie Taylor is a hell of a fighter, man. She's a hell of a fighter, and going back to her amateur career, Katie is one who has fought like the toughest of the Irishmen and women in the sport. And she has carved out a niche for herself, and I enjoy when she speaks of her status in the sport. She often references Clarissa Shields with respect. And she says, if it ain't Clarissa, it's me. If it ain't me, it's Clarissa. And hats off to her for that, because she's acknowledging someone else's presence. Regardless if they're not in the same weight class, she's acknowledging the presence. Something that Lomachenko couldn't do, okay? When he did have a certain lofty status, he wouldn't do that. But number 1, the GOAT, Claressa Shields, T-Rex, two-time Olympic gold medalist, three-time undisputed champion in 14 fights. A feat that will probably never be surpassed. At least not in this lifetime. Like I said, three-time undisputed in 14 professional fights, twice in one division, and 2 Olympic gold medals. So seeing that they wanted to credit Lomachenko for all his gold and everything and thought that they would stun you with the glitter from it, how can you overlook the merits and accomplishments of Claressa Shields? You can't. And that's based on how they judge things, not how I do. When I put this list together, there's only 1 or 2 people on there that you could really interchange or take off or whatever. But Jessica McCaskill, who is still an undisputed welterweight champion, fell out of favor with me hard off of that performance that she gave in her last fight. Even though she dropped down in weight to try to challenge for that title, it was not a good performance at all. She did not look like a polished, well-trained fighter. She looked amateurish. She looked like she hadn't been in the gym a long time at all. And it was a disgusting performance. I don't know what she was doing that night, but I mean, she's got a lot of ground to make up, man. And she's already lost to the likes of Katie Taylor. So it's like that undisputed title that she holds right now, that may be very temporary, especially when I look at certain fighters on the move and come up. And with her lack of technique, it could be taken away very easily. So she's out of the top 10. But these women who are in there presently, most of them, with the exception of Erica Cruz Hernandez, Michaela Mayer, Delphine Persoon, and Sanisa Estrada. Everyone else is undisputed. Yeah. So that right there speaks volumes about my acknowledgement of what's going on. And I'm advising everyone out there who will listen, keep your eye on 2 fighters, Ramla Ali, who in her recent performance on the undercard of Serrano Cruz won her first professional title. I did a video on Ramla called Beautiful Boxer. She's I think Somalian, great fighter. Keep your eye on her. Keep your eye on her. And also keep your eye peeled out for Caroline Dubois. She of the famous Dubois family. And I think she's gonna go further than Danny. Yeah. So that's my thunderous top 10 update with the ladies, man. And right there, you can put all of that put it on the board, take it to the bank, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But that's what I got to say about that. You know what I mean? That's what I got to say about it. Grand Regent Thrag says, if Clarissa were a man doing what she was doing, there would already be an argument that she is the best of all time. Or if she were not black. William says, I remember that. She definitely looked like an amateur. Yeah, talking about McCaskill. Terrible performance, William says. Grand Regent Thrag says, Daniel Dubois' sister is gonna be a problem. She already is, brother. She already is. She'll be able to make those leaps in challenges just like Clarissa did. She don't need to pad her record beating up on people that they know. She could start going in there and fighting world champions right now. She's that good. I said that she's gonna be Clarissa's replacement when Clarissa moves on and decides to start a family and all of that and move away from this. Keep your eye on Caroline Dubois. AJ64 says, I agree, Stormy. Jessica McCaskill, that was a bad performance. Yeah. Yeah, AJ, didn't that look kind of funny? But hey, listen. She easy on the eyes because she was on the card that night on the announcing team. But if she gonna fight like that, she might as well stay on the announcing team. Don't get back in the ring, because I don't want to see nobody performing like that ever in boxing. She could stay away from it as far as I'm concerned. That's some straight up foolishness. Straight up foolishness. And she from the Chi too? Man, come on, man. No. 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 Yeah. But yeah. So what you guys think of that thunderous top 10, huh? Yeah. Knew I was going to come back with that. But that's definitely a big time upgrade from what it was before tonight. But let's get into a little bit of the boxing news out here, man. There was some things that I ran across earlier, and just some interesting stuff that has come down the pipeline. One of the stories that has come through is one of the fighters that you all love to hate, Rolando "Rolly" Romero, is being gifted a shot at a WBA 140-pound champ, Alberto Puello. Now, this is according to Boxing News 24 earlier. It says, despite the fact that he hasn't competed in the 140-pound weight class, boxing contender Rolando "Rolly" Romero has somehow leapfrogged Gary Antoine Russell and Ishmael Barrasso as he is set to face the WBA super lightweight champion Alberto Puello, who's 21-0 with 10 KOs in April, at a venue that has yet to be determined. It says, back in May 2022, the WBA sanctioning body ordered the undisputed super lightweight champion Josh Taylor to make a mandatory defense against Alberto Puello. When Taylor neglected to submit an official response in a timely manner, the WBA decided to strip Taylor of his title belt. As a result of the sanctioning body's decision, Puello was scheduled to clash with Batyr Akhmadov in August for the vacant WBA 140-pound belt. The fight was an exciting, action-packed 12-round battle as one judge scored the bout 115 to 113 in favor of Akhmadov, but that score was overruled by the other two judges, who both scored the contest 117 to 111 in favor of Puello. In the original agreement, the winner of Puello Akhmadov was supposed to fight Ismael Barroso, who's 24-3 with 22 KOs, within 90 days after winning the title. During the WBA's annual convention that took place in December, the sanctioning body had a change of heart as talks started circulating in regards to Puello facing Gary Anton Russell. Now the script has been flipped once again, as Puello is set to defend his title against Rolly Romero. The challenger has never fought in the weight class, but he will enter the championship bout with a ranking of number 7 in the WBA. Can you guys spell and smell corruption? Yeah! Romero's ranking and title opportunity both fall under the category of generous due to the fact that while Romero's fighting for a belt, the WBA number 6 contender, Gary Anton, who's 16-0 with 16 KOs, and the number 1 ranked contender, Ismael Barroso, will both be on the sideline waiting for their opportunity. See, this is what happens when guys just don't get in the ring and fight. You mess around, and then somebody who ain't even in the weight class can get an opportunity because you don't put no pressure on the champions by staying active and fighting other contenders, knock them off, give him no recourse, because you've knocked off 2 or 3 of the contenders. He got to look at you. But see, they don't do that. They wait around, and they wait around like women in a bordello waiting for a John to come in, huh? What is that? Feminine energy, man. I'm telling you. Talk about this all the time. The article goes on. The last time Rolly competed inside the square circle was May 2022 in a pay-per-view at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, when he faced the WBA regular 135-pound champion Gervonta Tank Davis. Going into the 6th round, Romero was leading on one of the 3 scorecards when Davis abruptly ended the fight by landing a big counter left-hand shot. Despite suffering a knockout loss, Romero's stock seemed to rise. Some fight fans took notice of how Romero was pressing forward and dictating the pace of the bout against Tank Davis. That's what some fans thought that they viewed, but what they actually witnessed was Davis allowing Romero to come forward because he was setting a trap. And Romero predictably took the bait in the 6th. Just like he did in that sparring video. He may not even get this title shot off of that, because when you think about if they let that video out of what happened to him in the gym, then, you know, this champion Puello might have to look for somebody else. Dude getting knocked out his farm. Oh. I realize now why the nickname Rolly is there. Because he be rolling on the canvas. He look like a piece of chicken that's been breaded and floured and ready to put in the hot oil. Southern fried. I'm telling you, man, boxing is something else. Roll that tape. Roll it in the gym. You getting knocked out in the gym, man. It's crazy. But you know what? It's okay. You know, maybe he'll get paid for getting knocked out this time. Bang, zoom. Man, I tell you, you can't make this stuff up, man. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. But we really need to talk about your boy. I know y'all can't make it through the sport without talking about this dude, so we're gonna talk about him a little bit, huh? Your boy AJ, huh? A joke. Yeah. Listen, man. He had a press conference earlier this week for his April 1st. Now that's April Fool's Day to you and me, okay? Where he's going to face off against Jermaine Franklin, huh? He who we all felt conquered Dillian White in his last fight, but the judges saw fit to give the unfit White the decision when he didn't really even earn it. Yeah. So they had a press conference, and it seemed more like a therapy session for AJ, if you ask me. Because as he sat on the dais and he started talking, I could picture him sitting on one of those psychologists, what do they call it? Chase lounge chairs in the office, kind of talking about his life and how he need therapy. Listen, man, crazy as it sounds, this dude has hired Coach Derek James to train him. Now, I like Derek James, okay? I like what he has done with the fighters that fight out of his gym. But I don't like fools like AJ who think they smarter than everybody else. We're talking about the same kid who went around from gym to gym like he was test driving cars at a dealership, trying to see who would be a good fit to train him. And he settled on Robert Garcia, who is a very good trainer himself. But AJ, when he didn't get the win over Alexander Usyk in the rematch, he fired Garcia. Now, Garcia has really not gone in on him or whatever, but he did mention that there were times that AJ didn't want to train and, I'll see you tomorrow and that kind of thing or whatever. But I don't know what kind of fantasy world AJ is living in, because when you hire a new trainer and you have a fight coming up, sometimes it's required that you look at the new trainer and his process as a step-by-step approach. The first fight is like getting in the pool. The second fight is like learning how to use the strokes. The third fight is like swimming into a deeper part of the pool. And from there on, you find out whether you can really swim, wade, or if you're gonna drown or sink. So the fact that he fired Garcia just because he didn't beat Alexander Usyk, it wasn't Garcia. It wasn't his fight to win or lose. It was his opportunity to show AJ what he could do with bringing out the talents that he had. And AJ did do some positive things in that rematch, but Alexander Usyk was just a better fighter. And if they weren't in such a damn hurry to try to get those belts back for Eddie Hearn, maybe if they had taken a fight or two in between, because Usyk ain't fought since then, right? And he could have had that long layoff, and Usyk could have taken a soft touch, and AJ could have fought a couple of fights under Garcia's tutelage to get his feet wet with Garcia. Now he's jumping in there with a contender like Franklin, who lost to Dillian White in a decision when many people felt that he won the fight. But instead of fighting Dillian White, he's going to fight Franklin, who people feel that upset Dillian White. So this is really not a smart move, because if Franklin can improve upon his performance against White, he could definitely beat AJ, whose lack of confidence, whose lack of sense of awareness in boxing, and who has been padded and frauded all this time. Remember, we've heard the stories about his gym situations. Now he's in there with Derrick James, and he's going to taint Derrick James's record of working with people by going out there. If he can't perform properly, it's not Derrick James's fault if he loses this fight. But if he does happen to win the fight, Derrick James deserves all the credit anyway. This guy, I would have preferred that Derrick James didn't work with him. There's just something about some of us here in America when we don't, I don't know. Here in America, we're too forgiving, man. And when I say we, you know what I'm talking about. You got to hold people accountable, bro. And sometimes you got to use that line that Eddie Murphy used in Boomerang when Tisha Campbell, who lived next door to Eddie's character in the movie, and they shared a balcony space in their condo. And it was obvious that he had hit that at one point, but she was kind of crazy. So he's out there on the balcony, and she's a gossiper, and she comes out there talking to him. And she says, "Oh, she broke your heart, huh?" And he was like, "Yeah, whatever, you know." And she's like, "Well, if you'd like to come over and talk about it, you know, we come over for a cup of coffee and talk about it." And Eddie looked at her and said, "Not if Jesus was pouring." would have been nice if Derrick James would have been like, you need help, son, but I'm not a mechanic. Yeah. Yeah, man. He ain't no miracle worker. Huh? What do you think? What do you think, that Derrick James is one of Santa's elves or something? Hell out of here. No. And see, I remember, my memory is like an elephant, bro. I remember when AJ talked about the American trainers just a few years ago. What I need to go over there for, you know? We got what we need over here and this and that. He called Lennox Lewis a clown when Lennox said he needed to come to America and start engaging in some fights and learning some lessons of boxing over here. Don't just stay over there in that pool. Now, see, when Lennox said that, AJ was like 24, 25 years old. AJ's like 33 now, 34. Ali was facing George Foreman when he was 32. Yeah. Huh? You see? So this is what I'm talking about, man. You can't, listen. You can't fool Mother Nature, bro. You can't. But we're going to come back to AJ in a minute. But let's talk about quickly the fight for tomorrow night. Ray Vargas against O'Shaquie Foster, man. This is a good fight. Typical, you know, Mexican punching fighter, aggressor against a guy who can stick and move a little bit, got fast hands, combinations. Not a great deal of power, but he's strong. And this is one of those fights where, like I said, my fight breakdown video is coming up after this show. It premieres about 10:15 Central Time, so make sure you check that out. But Vargas, who had the judge's favor in a split decision win over Masako, he's coming back now and looking to get something done against Foster. This is a good opportunity for Foster. So if he's focused and in shape and ready to go, all he has to do is not try to go to war with this guy. Look to outpoint him, look to be slick, look to not be there for receipts. I state these things kind of often when it's this type of style matchup, typical boxer against a puncher or a slugger. So it's a fight that O'Shaquie can win. But he's got to be disciplined. He's got to be disciplined to do his thing. In some other news, there was a report last week that I meant to get to that Lawrence Okolie, the cruiserweight champion, has hired none other than Sugar Hill Stewart to be his new trainer. Now, I don't understand that. I don't know if Lawrence was hanging around the gym with Fury. I don't know. You guys over in the UK would know that more than me. But the fact that he decided to go with Sugar Hill Stewart is quite interesting, because outside of working with Tyson Fury, Sugar Hill Stewart didn't have very much of a, you know, the reputation of accomplishment with these fighters at the top level. And we saw what happened with Darrell and Caleb Plant. So I don't know, Lawrence. You probably would have been better off with Jonathan Banks, who had worked some time with the Klitschko's. If you're thinking Kronk, okay? And then there's some other trainers who have Kronk experience as well. and Kronk philosophy. But that's what the news that came down the pipe. And, you know, I meant to talk about that, but I ran out of time when I was talking on the other subjects last week. But we're going to have to see what happens with Lawrence Okoli as he, you know, gets out there and tries to lay it on the line. So we will see. Sugar Hill Stewart doesn't impress me. I think there's some other things going on with him, and it's deceiving people, making him look like a trainer. And we have heard through interviews with other fighters about him not even being available in the Kronk. So it's like, listen, you do the math, okay? You do the math. Yeah, watcher, absolutely. Absolutely. So, but Okole, he would be better off working with a guy like a Ronnie Shields or something. You know? It just goes to show that some of these people, man, the fighters don't even know how to pick trainers. They don't. They're going out there for shock value and trying to grab guys that, he's got a good name in the sport or whatever. Dude, please. They don't know what they're doing, man. But we're going to talk about something else that these two guys, Spencer Oliver and Simon Jordan, on their Box Talk show, they were talking about AJ and the fact that he's taking this fight with Jermaine Franklin. And they had some interesting things to say about AJ. So I thought I would share with you what I ran across when I heard these two guys talking, huh? And it's a very interesting discussion that they have. So absolutely, watcher. That's why you heard me say that. That's exactly what I was alluding to. He has the experience. Plus, he's worked with guys like who was that? The guy that fought. Damn, what's his name? They had the bad cut on the forehead. Can't think of it right now. Yeah, watcher, I know about that as well. But this is a discussion that they had on AJ versus Franklin. And I know Oliver is like an AJ lover or something like that, but Simon Jordan was ripping him up. But check this out.
I always felt he's a flat track bully, and when it gets put on him, I think he struggles.
I think that he definitely can beat Usyk. Fury, I'm not so sure.
He gets hit by Deontay Wilder. He's gone.
Fair use, fair use, fair use.
This is Talk Boxing with Simon Jordan and Spencer Oliver, episode 12. Don't forget to keep liking and subscribing. And
fair
of course,
use.
Leaving the questions in the comment section below. But let's get on with a very busy show. Spence, not a lot.
Thank you, Dale Alexander. Fair use.
Fights. Obviously, Amanda Serrano had a fight. But a lot going on outside, a lot of chat going on.
Yeah.
And of course, the big news is April 1st. Anthony Joshua's back in the ring. Jermaine Franklin.
Yeah.
What's your take on all that?
Well, I know that the fight's getting a lot of criticism. I think that people wanted to see the Dillian Whyte fight. Dillian Whyte has just beat Jermaine Franklin, albeit very questionable. Arguably, very close fight. I think that I think it's a good opponent. I just think that he's not getting the credibility because he's pretty much an unknown quantity, because we'd never really heard of him before he boxed Dillian White. He come over here, and I think that it was a credible performance. Like I say, a lot of people felt he won that fight. He showed good durability as well.
Was it a credible performance because Dillian White is remarkably diminished after the beating he took from Tyson Fury, or was it?
He said that Dillian White took a beating from Tyson Fury. He's remarkably diminished. These guys and their choice of words, man, it's just funny to me because, you know, when they talk like that, it's like they're really dragging somebody through the mud, right? But it's like, because it's Dillian White, I don't mind hearing them say it because it's true. Dillian White, he's diminished, all right, but he's not diminished because of Tyson Fury. He's diminished because he was never much of anything to begin with. Oh, man. But here we go.
A credible performance because this guy is better than ranked at 29.
I think he's better than what he's ranked. I think that he showed that if you look at the performance as a whole, he showed, you know, he put it on Dillian a few times. He had Dillian White hurt a few times as well, but he also showed great durability. You know, Dillian's heavy-handed, as we know.
Yep.
Dillian put it on him as well, and he stuck it out there, you know, for the full 12 rounds. So, look, Anthony Joshua's comeback fight, you know, we've talked about this in the past, the psychological damage that he's had from the Alexander Usyk losses, from the Andy Ruiz loss. He's trying to rebuild his career. And for me, I think it's a credible opponent. I think it's a potential banana skin. Dangerous fight for him, really.
Yeah, you know, now see, they're trying to, this is so interesting because Joshua looked so bad in 2 fights against Alexander Usyk, who was a lot smaller than Joshua as well, right? So they're trying to safeguard themselves by talking Jermaine Franklin up. They don't know a lot about Franklin themselves, but you just don't know what you're going to get out of Joshua now. So they're being guarded by saying the fact that AJ, you know, Franklin is an unknown factor, but because he gave White a good fight, you know, if AJ isn't up to snuff like he should be, he could run into some problems against Jermaine Franklin. And though that may be true, it's almost like if Joshua loses against him, they want to be right. They want to be on the right side of. They want to be on the right side of the discussion of how the fight may go. But I'm going to tell you something. Man, this whole thing about Derek James, when the punches start flying, whatever James has taught him or whatever they've trained on in the gym, all of that ain't going to matter. That's why you need more than one camp. That's why you need a succession of camps. This could have been camp 2 with Robert Garcia. But no, he's always hitting the reset button. He's like DC, Warner Brothers DC. That movie didn't work, so let's start all over. Let's blow it all up and start all over again. That's AJ, huh? Feminine energy. You hear me talking about this, man. You hear me talking about it.
I'm going to ask you why you think it's dangerous just in a minute, but I actually think there's sense behind. We've all got excited, as you and I have discussed before on previous shows, and everyone else discussed the idea of Tyson Fury fighting Anthony Joshua in December or at the end of November when Tyson wanted it to be. And whilst there was an excitement about getting Anthony Joshua back in and getting this express train of a big fight, it wouldn't have been the best version of Anthony Joshua. It would have been the version that would have suited Tyson Fury best. Right? So whilst it looked like a magnanimous offer of a 60-40 split or whatever he had offered Anthony Joshua, more significant than people anticipated, it's because Anthony Joshua would have brought more money to the table than anyone else, so 60-40 is probably equivalent to 80-20 on other fights that he could have given challengers an opportunity on. But B, it would have not been the right fight for Anthony to take to give himself an opportunity to rebuild. Whoever you are, wherever you do, if you take a couple of demoralising defeats, One where you thought completely the wrong game plan and slightly embarrassed yourself, and the other where you just came up short and the exasperation you felt afterwards was all evident for everyone to see. It's absolutely right. You take some rebuild fights. I was listening to a couple of other commentators, Nick Peet and Adam Cattrall, who I think are great commentators, talking about their absolute disappointment in this fight. I think it's no.
Now, see, the fact that they're talking about Joshua not taking the fight when Fury was offering it to him for December of last year and all of that, Joshua could have fought Fury a long time ago, but he didn't. He did not. Deontay Wilder was able to call Fury out of wherever the abyss that he came out of back to boxing. AJ could have did the same thing. The thing about it is, this is Ed Hearn and his influence and interference with Anthony Joshua's career. And you have to state it, man. The fact that Anthony Joshua is not a guy that is grown through developing, he's grown through things having been made easy for him, which is two different things. And there have been people on the take, there have been people of compliance, there have been people who have been brought along to ensure that the AJ brand operates a certain kind of way. But all of that was broken up by a little fat pudgy dude named Andy Ruiz Jr. And it hasn't been set right since. It has not. And they're continuously trying to put AJ back in a certain position. Why do you take a guy who lost his last fight, not the guy who won the last fight, and make a fight with him? If he beats up Jermaine Franklin, we don't give him credit for that. Jermaine Franklin lost his last fight. Fight the guy who won the last fight. Fight the guy who's on a winning streak. Fight a guy who's coming in confident. I'm not saying that Jermaine Franklin is not coming in confident. We all felt that Jermaine Franklin beat Dillian White, but he didn't get the decision. So the philosophy here is, again, you're picking a guy who you think that you have an advantage on. And it very well may not be the case. You may be taking a guy who's extremely motivated. If Jermaine Franklin were to defeat Anthony Joshua, it would catapult his life, his career, and everything so far ahead that AJ, when you look over at him, he'll be going the same speed but in the opposite direction. That's a tremendous roll of the dice. A tremendous roll of the dice. Even Ed Hearn made a comment to him at the press conference this week about he looked leaner. He looked different from the last time he saw him at the fight with Dillian White. And Franklin remarked, I went back into the gym that very next week after the fight, and I've been training ever since. And Hearn was like, you must have had word that a fight of this magnitude may be coming down the pipeline for you or whatever. Well, everyone knows that Hearn always shows his hand along with his ass in these negotiations and everything, so it was no different here. It's just that Franklin is trying to accept the opportunities that will catapult his career forward, and he believes in himself and he has ability. Going in against a guy who is not so confident and a guy who hasn't, done much lately, this is a great opportunity for Franklin.
Okay, fine. I would prefer to see him in there with someone like Otto Wallim,
Yeah.
And I can't quite buy, and I know apparently I'm not allowed to use Eddie Hearn's name, because if I do use his name, it's because I'm indexing my name to his name and trying to rise my profile by Eddie Hearn. Mate, you're running your dad's business. But look, you know, the idea that, you know, he couldn't afford some better names and those guys, the promoters, are selling it as a real fight, does cause me concern, because I don't think it helps rebuild Anthony Joshua, because if he wins this fight compellingly, everyone's going to say it's what you should have done. If he wins it in a slightly more arduous way, in the same way that Dillian Whyte did, people are going to say you're done. It looks to me like a zero-sum game. It looks to me like whichever way he goes, he ain't going to come out of this with a huge amount of, oh wow, AJ's back.
Huge amount.
Yeah. And did you hear him say he would have rather seen AJ take on Otto Wallen? There's a reason that he didn't take on Otto Wallen. Otto Wallen, man, he would pounce all over this opportunity to fight AJ. You saw when he gave Tyson Fury a run, okay? He would run AJ up out of there. They know what they're doing as far as staying away from obvious danger, but they always misdirect when it comes to these other fighters, like Dillian Whyte or Jermaine Franklin, Usyk, Ruiz. These guys have something under the surface. Usyk is a little bit skillful. He's a small heavyweight and came up from the lighter weights, you know, through the amateurs and pros. But he has some skill and he has something bubbling under the surface. He ain't no punk. Well, Jermaine Franklin ain't no punk. And Andy Ruiz Jr. ain't no punk. And the fact that these guys have given, well, we haven't seen Franklin and AJ yet, but I'm speculating that he's going to give AJ some kind of a fight. It shows that AJ is the one that is working without that extra tick in the old ticker, huh? Yeah, but let's go further.
Respect. Yeah, and I get that, you know, because listening to people, you know, you listen to people the way they're speaking about the fight, because Franklin is an unknown quantity. That's where the problem lies here. It doesn't matter how good or how bad he actually is. We can only go after Dillian Whyte.
Fair use.
I thought actually he's not a bad opponent. Otto Wallen, you know, after that good performance he put in against Tyson Fury, people recognise the name. Yeah. So they think it's a credible opponent to come back for Anthony Joshua. What we got to understand with Joshua is he's at this stage of his career at the moment where he's trying to find the right trainer. He's trying to put the whole team together. And whilst he's doing that, he needs confidence building as well. You know, he's coming off that loss to Alexander Usyk. And to me, I thought he boxed better than the first time, a lot better than the first time.
Yeah, but he set himself a low standard in the first one.
He did. Yeah. His game plan was all wrong. Everything was wrong second time. But he's missing that little something. He's missing that rawness that once took him to a world heavyweight title. Like, he's missing that fighting with his heart on his sleeve. And I think he won't regain that, if he'll ever regain it, unless he's got the right trainer.
Let's move past the Spencer Oliver, Anthony Joshua Appreciation Society and move into the reality of what Anthony Joshua is likely to achieve.
This is the part that I really like, because when he talks like that, he's basically saying, listen, realistically, where do you see AJ going, and where do you assess him being as a fighter presently? And dude, this part, Simon Jordan really put it out there, and he says it, you know, plain and simple. I like this. And this is why I wanted to, you know, talk about it a little bit on the show tonight, because this is like, dude, This is the good stuff right here. Fair use. Fair use.
Because obviously this fight is being billed as a rebirth.
Yeah.
People are sort of saying that Dillian White's got moved out of the way again and it's getting an unfair disadvantage. Again, Dillian White gets prejudiced for a financial opportunity. He would cry that he didn't get a world title shot for 3 years. The bigger question is, Spence, let's assume, rightfully or wrong, that he's going to go through Jermaine Franklin.
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't, he's done anyway.
I agree.
Do you believe that there is a road to some form of redemption? And I don't mean redemption in terms of getting people's forgiveness. I mean redemption in terms of people recrediting Anthony Joshua, because I think he's outside of the top 5 now.
Sure.
I don't think he's got the same luster. I don't think he's spoken about in the same way as he once was. And I don't think, even in my thinking, I'm thinking about what's going to happen with Deontay Wilder. I'm thinking about what's going to happen with Joe Joyce.
Yep.
I'm thinking of what's happening with Tyson Fury or Alexander Usyk. I'm not thinking about what's happening with Anthony Joshua. And I'm sort of looking at this going, yeah, all right, okay. Because I think he's done.
Yep.
Now, given that you're quite...
He said he thinks he's done. Yeah, stick a fork in him, G. He's done. Take him off of the, take the kebab off of the flames, huh? Yeah, I love it, man. Salute to my brother KC Boxing Network out there. What's good with you, KQ? Good to see you in the building, man. Yeah, but listen, I like when someone speaks frankly about it. He don't have to, I know he don't like Ed Hearn. I know Simon Jordan don't care for Ed Hearn, but he's telling it like it is, man. AJ, no miracles in boxing, okay? No miracles. Yeah, hold on a second. Fair use.
An advocate for him.
Yeah.
And you think this fight's a fight with jeopardy and a fight that it could be a test for him and a real fight, and you're forming part of the thinking that Eddie Hearn would have us believe is part of the equation. Where do you think this journey is going to go for Anthony?
Well, I'm saying that this fight is for Anthony Joshua is the right fight to come back on. The right fight, I think, stylistically, that could, it's all about the confidence rebuilding, and he's going to need that. And I don't think you can deny him a fight like Jermaine Franklin to come back in, to regain a bit of confidence. Then we're looking at Dillian White in the summer. Then he's talking about, a Tyson Fury or a Deontay Wilder in his third fight. And I think that's the roadmap for him over the next 12 months.
So why wouldn't he just take... let me just rephrase it then. Why wouldn't he just take Dillian White now? I'm not interested in that fight, really. Yeah. But given it's got more credibility in it, Dillian White's just come off the back of a loss and a sort of an inauspicious win.
Yeah.
Right? Some people even suggesting he lost that fight against Jermaine Franklin. So he ain't in good nick either, really.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they just cut to the chase and say... Because it's a half meaningful fight. It gives everybody something out of the fight.
They obviously feel that Dillian White at that stage may be too much of a risk.
Doesn't that then worry you about Anthony Joshua, about the state of him? Because if they've got to mollycoddle him and walk him backwards into a situation where he can be competitive again, aren't we in danger of discrediting Anthony Joshua's legacy, that he's a person that comes back from adversity, back from real adversity? Aren't we getting back to a stage where we're almost walking him in baby steps back into the heavyweight contention? Isn't that slightly patronising of the public, condescending to the fighter, and slightly worrying about the state that he's actually in?
Yeah. Listen, well, I think we worry about these psychological state of mind anyway at this stage. And I think that may be the reason behind taking Jermaine Franklin. But I think that... Yeah, listen, he's teamed up with Derek James and they need time to gel together, time to get together. And I just think that they've looked at it and stylistically they thought Franklin's right for Joshua. And that's the road that they've taken. But look...
Why is it... Okay, well, why is he... what did you see in the fight that he fought with Dillian White where he returned fire?
Yep.
What makes him right for Anthony Joshua?
I didn't say that.
This fight is right for him.
No, I'm saying that he's team.
He's trying to back up off of that. I didn't say that. In other words, it's like, I'm not saying that Franklin is right for Joshua. Remember I said earlier before I started playing the sound bites that they're trying to set it up like if AJ gets whooped by Franklin, they're going to be protected. Well, see, I kind of alluded to that. Remember, that's what they try to do. Fence riding at its best, bro. But Simon is a little more, affirmative. But we know that Spencer is an AJ lover, man. He want to rub some baby oil on him and stuff like that. It's like it's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous listening to this, how they going about it. But it's funny at the same time. But we'll finish it up in a second here. Fair use.
He felt that this fight is right for him. Maybe because
you don't think it is, then?
maybe I think he's a potential banana skin, definitely.
Right.
I think that Franklin will come with a lot of ambition, after the performance he put in against Dillian White and knowing where Anthony Joshua is now mentally, not the physical side of things, just mentally, he'll think this is the right time for me. And this is like, he will treat this as his world title fight. He recognises beating Joshua puts him right up there. It's a big opportunity for him. I think that with Anthony Joshua, his team will be looking at it and seeing Franklin, he's quite flat-footed, stand in front of Joshua, and they'll feel that Joshua's got the explosive power to not just win, but take him out in style. And I think that's the calculated gamble that they're taking, as opposed to, Dillian White, who they know they've got history together. Dillian beat him as an amateur. They boxed as pro. Dillian had him in terrible trouble in the second round. Joshua done him eventually in the seventh. But they've got history. Stylistically, Dillian's always going to cause Joshua problems. And I think that they feel that they want to get Joshua back on the winning road before taking Dillian White on.
What do you honestly expect to see in this fight? I mean, besides all the brouhaha about what kind of fight it is and the re-emergence and the rebirth of Anthony Joshua, they've got to package it this way.
Fair use.
He's a cash cow.
Sure.
Right? But what do you genuinely... You've expressed worry and concern. I'm sort of ambivalent about it. I'm just going to wait and see. I'm not going to express huge opinions on Anthony Joshua because right now I don't think he's taking meaningful fights.
Yeah.
Right. So with that in mind, I'm not going to give an overly focused outlook on Anthony Joshua, not because I don't want to discuss him, because we are discussing him, but because I don't think he's worthy of that right now.
Yeah.
You're invested in Anthony.
He says he don't think he's worthy of that right now. It don't matter if Derek James is in his corner or Angelo Dundee, Emmanuel Stewart, and Eddie Futch, huh? If they were all working as a tandem, it don't matter. AJ is a jigsaw puzzle, with some pieces missing from the box, huh? And the thing is, he's not going to get better instantaneously, and boxing is a what have you done for me lately sport. And I do believe that Mr. Franklin can get lucky. And it's not lucky if you're throwing your shots with bad intentions and person intentions. So that's how I see it, But these men are having this discussion. It should be heard, which is why I'm playing it for you guys, because everybody don't listen to the UK shows and stuff like that. But this is not someone speaking from a love fest with AJ and Hearn. This is like someone speaking objectively and kind of like in the know of that maybe this had been, a fraudulent run altogether. A little bit more and we'll be out. Fair use.
Joshua.
Yeah.
And you have a definitive opinion on this particular fight. I get what it is.
Yeah.
But what do you expect to see from Anthony in this fight?
What I expect
Not what
to
you want to see, what you expect to see.
Yeah, I expect to see a newfound confidence in Joshua, a newfound belief in himself, because that's what he needs, and that's what I'm expecting. I think he knows that he needs to produce that as well. So I'm expecting an explosive performance from Joshua. That's what I'm expecting. I'm not expecting Joshua to go out there, be a little bit tentative, use his space, trying to pick his shots. I'm expecting him to be explosive.
Go in and blast him out.
And that's what I'm expecting. And I think anything less
than that is disappointment to you?
Anything less than that is not acceptable and is a disappointment. Yeah, I think that's what he has to do. He has to make a statement. He has to go out there and he's got to raise an eyebrow. And people go, "Whoa, that's the Joshua I know. That's the one we." Anything less is not going to be acceptable.
Do you think?
Yeah. So he gotta blast Franklin out of there to get the respect from his own people. Hey, Just Spark, salute to you. Their channel is in the description. I put it in the description box for the show. So if you want to go for Box Talk Live, it's in the description box. You can click on the link there and it'll take you right to their channel. Okay? I put that in the description box with purpose. And I'm also, suggesting that people subscribe to their content because they do have good boxing conversations over there. Whether you agree with everything they're talking about or not, it's still good to listen from a different point of view from a different part of the world if you're from over here. So that's what that's all about. And check it out. It's in the description box. This last little bit here.
If he negotiates Franklin, then he negotiates Dillian White. I know we're asking him for 2 hurdles.
Yeah.
Where does he land on the third one? Do you think he's landing somewhere vaguely resembling a world title shot?
Well, listen, I think he lands on the third one in the space of Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury. That's the fight that he needs. Listen, it's not about... He's been a pro now a long time. It's not about, if you give him the Franklin fight, you give him the Dillian White fight, you got to let him go. He's got to go for that shot and try and regain that world title, and that is going to be with Deontay Wilder or Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk, one of them, that caliber of fighter.
Yeah.
So that's where I see it going, and I see that after
Just be interesting to see how that plays out because
Yeah.
he won't be, irrespective of this. I think this is a fair comment. Irrespective of what he does in the next 2 fights, he doesn't put himself above Joe Joyce in the rankings.
No.
And
Fair
if you're
use.
talking about Fury and
Fair use.
Usyk fighting at the end of April,
Yeah.
you're not seeing Joe Joyce fight the winner of that until September. It's very unlikely you're seeing Anthony Joshua fight for a world title this year, is it?
Yeah.
On that basis.
Listen, there's been so many moving parts in this heavyweight division. We don't know what that final chapter is going to look like. I know
It can't be, can it?
I know.
It can't be. Anthony Joshua doesn't get above Joe Joyce in the rankings, does he?
No, he won't get above Joyce.
So he doesn't get a mandatory.
Well, yeah, but it depends where the mandatories fall and when they have to be by. Do you know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is Anthony Joshua is obviously the cash cow, and for the champion,
Can't be right though, can it? If Joe Joyce does his job and beats
I get it.
Zhilei Zhang,
I get it.
and gets an opportunity to shoot for a shot at Tyson Fury, who I think will beat Usyk.
Or
Can't
does,
be Anthony
or,
Joshua
or
jumps
does,
ahead of him, can it?
or does Tyson Fury, after if he has this undisputed fight with Alexander Usyk, does Tyson Fury then go, I'll give up the WBO and start fragmenting the titles everywhere because he's done the undisputed? What I'm saying is, I suppose for Fury, for all the guys at that level now, it's about making those fights that are definitive fights for this era. And I think that we need to see Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua. For Fury, if he wants to clean up the whole of the era, he's got to take that fight.
Maybe.
So,
Yeah, and that's the thing. You don't even know what the loose cannon Fury is going to do. So there's a lot to be said. You guys can check out the rest of that interview on their channel. But I just thought I would bring that out to you and let you, check that out because these guys are, having that discussion, things that should be talked about. And there's so much more that they're saying. That interview is with them, or that show is about 40 minutes. So I would suggest you go and check them out because that's exactly what's happening over there. Man, let me tell you. Sometimes when you have these type of scenarios where you can hear from different parts of the world, they bring a different outlook, So, and that's what I wanted to share with you guys this evening for that. But yeah, it's a lot to be said, and like I said, that fight is coming up April 1st. So it's going to be very interesting what's going to happen with Anthony Joshua and Jermaine Franklin. And Franklin is going to be ready. He's going to go in there and try and perform. And as long as he really wants it, it's going to be a fight. You know what I mean? So let it be known. Let it be said, But, yeah, we're going to get ready to get on up out of here, man. That's been my little 2 hours. And don't forget, like I said, I got that video coming up in about 15 minutes. So you guys can check that out, the Ray Vargas and Oshaki Foster video. And I'm sure my brother KQKC is going to be calling the fights tomorrow night. So you'll be able to tune in and check those out on his channel, KQKC Boxing Network. But we're going to get on up out of here. And thank you guys for tuning in. Shout out to the mighty LDBC. And we up out of here.
To this day.